In this video, we're going to show you how to remove the front spring-loaded shock on a 16 Escalade. It's located in the front fender wells, driver and passenger side. Remove the tire. We have to take the center cap off yet. Use a pry bar or screwdriver. Has a little cutout slot. Get right in there. Remove it. Now you can see the lug nuts. 22 millimeter. We're going to remove all of them. This has a wheel lock on it, so I'll grab the wheel key. Grab your tire and remove it. I'm going to remove the fender line skirting so you have access to the top of that strut so much easier. The first one in the front fender here is a plastic clip. You can use just a little pocket screwdriver or a trim tool. Get right in there, remove that plastic center. And we're going to follow it up. The next two clips, bolts are 7 millimeter socket. Two of those. And right down here where the under part of the bumper is, there's two bolts that are 10 millimeter socket. We'll just get those right out of the way. Now we have 12 of these screws, which have the head for a Torx bit, T15, and there's 12 of them. And the last one is right here. Now we can grab the fender skirt. Just watch out for dirt and debris. And lift it right out. So in order to get the flexibility to get this front shock strut out, we need to loosen up this sway bar link. 15 millimeter wrench on the top and 15 millimeter socket on the bottom. I'm not going to remove the whole thing. I'm just going to loosen it. Just like that. So this shock strut is electronically controlled. It has a wire coming out of the center shaft right here. So we're going to follow that along onto the harness and find where it connects. And it connects right here. And just take a little tool and pop it out of the holder so that we can disconnect it. And you'll see that there's a safety clip. Sometimes I use a pocket screwdriver. I'll just pop that gray safety clip out. Then you're going to push on it and disconnect it. And there it is. Now with the help of a screwdriver or pry bar, I'm just going to take all of these harnesses that get mounted to the top of the studs. Just remove them and get them out of my way so I can remove these nuts from the top of the strut. There's 3 of them total. Remember not to touch the center nut ever. You don't need to. These are nice assemblies. All right, there we go. Everything's out of the way, and we can get to these. So these are 18 millimeter sockets. I'm just going to use a 3/8 drive just to loosen them up. So there's 3 of them. Now I'm going to get an electric ratchet and help it along. And now I'm going to raise the vehicle so that I can get to the bottom 2 mounting bolts. All right, so from underneath you can see where the base of this strut sits in this lower control arm, in this 2 mounting bolts. 15mm socket. We're going to take those right out. Now before you take this one completely out, make sure you've got a free hand. It should be all set because the pressure goes up, not actually down. So now you're going to have to get ready to grab it from the top, slide the bottom out, and lift it out through the top. Everything's ready to go. You can see the studs coming up through the tower here. With a pry bar, I'm going to pull down on the actual control arm. It's not a lot of pressure, but it's just enough so that you can take the bottom mounting off from resting on that control arm. Hold onto it tight because you're going to be controlling it for the rest of the way. Just like that. Now you can get the pry bar out of the way. Take both your hands. Slide this right out through the top, just like that. So now before you install the new one, let's take the nuts that it comes with off of the studs. So you can actually get it to go up in, sit in the mounting holes. And the one thing I like about this car, it comes with its own tray. And now we're going to take the strut and reverse procedure. I'm going to go right through the top. Here is where it gets a little tricky. You got to hold it, fish this wire up, make sure you don't pinch it. And line those bolt holes up. If you have to spin it, feel free to spin it. Make sure that base is lined up. Now with that like that, I can start. Just going to start all 3 nuts so that I can release, stop holding it up. Now with my electric ratchet or by hand, I can snug these up, just going to bottom them out. The new nuts are 15mm, not 18. Like I said, I'm just snugging them because I'm going to torque them to factory spec. I'm going to torque these because it's a free suspension. There's no pressure on it, so I can torque these and be done with the top. 37 foot-pounds with that 15mm wrench. It's always good to double check, especially with suspension. Now I can put the harnesses back in place. bring this wire over to the connector. See where the factory puts this little adapter here. It's going to put it right in that. Make it mounted. Now I can grab the harness side, line it up, here at lock, and then push that gray tab down. And we're good to go. So on some of them, you might have to use the pry bar to pry down on that control arm again, in a sense, like this, and center that and pry it in. You might need 2 pry bars. I came in from the back side here, and I just give it a little line up. While I'm putting pressure on it, I'm going to put a mounting bolt through and start it by hand. And I'll get the other side. Now I could take my 15mm socket and snug them up, and then I'll torque them to factory spec. So these 2 mounting bolts on the bottom are 37 foot-pounds, 15mm socket. $15mm wrench we're going to put on top and socket on the bottom. When it comes to sway bar links, there's not always a torque specs for them because you want them just snug just before that cushion starts to actually bellow out. You want to just meet it up. Just like that. All right, now we can put our fender skirt in. Always try to get it over the top of the strut tower first. Gives you that freedom that you need to manipulate this thing around. I like to put the front on first. So grab the fender well, line up that first little hole, and that's where the plastic push pin goes in. Then we'll take the centerpiece, line it up, and push it in. Then we have an open hole. Then you have the 2 screws that have a 7mm head on them. I'm not going to tighten them. I'm going to put all the screws in before I tighten everything. Now I'm going to put the 2 bottom ones in. These are the 10mm head screws. Now I'm on the other side, the passenger door side, and I'm just going to line up that fender well and start putting the 12 mounting screws with the Torx T15. I'm not going to tighten it, I'm just going to snug it. And the reason why I don't tighten them is because you have to move this fender well around to line up all the other bolt holes. Much easier if it's loose enough. And just snug them all up after you're done. Okay, 3 left. All right, so now I just want to move it around, make sure it's all seated correctly, and now I will just snug them all up. And now the last 2, the 7mm socket. All right, now we're going to mount our tire. 22mm socket, just snug them up. Go in a crisscross pattern. All right, we can lower it and then torque the wheel. Okay, the wheel torque is 140 foot-pounds. We'll do it in a star pattern. Let's double check. Let's put the center cap on. When putting the center cap on, always look for a marking that might tell you where the valve stem is, and that is the angle they want that installed. After finishing this installation, it's important to have an alignment done on your vehicle. When only the best will do, demand TRQ, the only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.